We are live. We are the Tendys on Pattison. I am Jack, joined today by Chris, and a little later we'll have a special guest, Frank from the Flyers Nitty Gritty. But right now it's Chris and I. Paul's had to take some personal time. How are we feeling today, Chris?
Feeling good. It's actually been a good 3 days for Philadelphia sports. Obviously, the Flyers aren't playing, but Sixers won the other night, and then the Phillies had back-to-back walk-off victories. So
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and Boston and Pittsburgh are out of the playoffs.
Anytime, I hate to be that type of person to cheer for the negativity, but anytime you have either of those things happen, it's a good day. Yeah.
No, it is, but obviously there's new controversy in the NHL now that those two teams are out. The Tampa Bay Lightning and their salary cap that they finagled.
Yeah, Dougie Hamilton, following being eliminated, did not have kind things to say. I guess I don't think he's too happy with the way that with Tampa being able to compete, being so far over the cap.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it earlier. They're $18 million over the cap for the playoffs.
Yeah, they're currently right now they're $18 million over the cap. They were lucky enough to be able to put two players on long-term injured reserve as the season was going on. So now, when it counts the most, they're $18 million over the cap.
Hey, listen, if you can beat the system until the system tells you to stop doing it, then do it.
Yeah, that's we're joined in the car. I have to add him to the feed, but what we'll do is we're going to bring Frankie in. Frankie from the Nitty Gritty. Frankie, currently we are discussing the ability for Tampa Bay to compete in the playoffs, being $18 million over the cap.
Gentlemen,
thanks for joining us, Frankie. Hey, we're all right now that the Bruins are eliminated.
Wow, that was the Islanders the last 2 years, what they've been able to do, seeing how they were against the Philadelphia Flyers last year in the playoffs. They have players that are already thinking two plays ahead. Matthew Barzal, when he touches the puck, he already knows where he's going to go with it. He was able to skate all over the Philadelphia Flyers last year. Now, with this Islanders team this year, losing their captain and bringing in two veteran players, who not to mention have played together years ago, two veteran players to make a statement, which one of them scored last night, being Travis Zajac, a phenomenal coach, a solid goaltender. This team is getting better and better. I'm not surprised that Boston lost, but I am pretty surprised on how bad they lost last night.
Yeah, Trotz really has a very disciplined system, and you can look at all the goaltenders that really end up playing kind of behind his defenses. They all end up putting up good numbers. They've been able to cycle through both of their starting goaltenders, and they both have a 92-plus save percentage. Trotz does a really good look at how good Holtby looked in those years in the Trotz system. And it can't be understated just how that disciplined style, it's not the most fun to watch unless you get a player like Barzal on the ice, but it's effective.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that after Barry Trotz won the Stanley Cup that he was actually let go the next year. I'm really, really curious on what they were thinking and what move they wanted to go, because since he's went to the Islanders, he's literally turned the franchise into a contender. Coaching is really important, and I mean, you see that prime example or the New York Islanders.
So yeah, as we're on that subject, and we were just talking about Tampa, I want to make sure I bring it back because something Chris and I were just talking about offline, and it wasn't in our show notes, but is I'm not a fan. Like, I feel like we, as consumers of sports, are led to believe that a cat brings certain things. And I don't know if it's us telling ourselves that. And one of the things is competitive balance. And I just don't agree fully that what happens. Now, for hockey, it has saved teams from themselves. Without the cap, there are a lot of teams that would have spent themselves into bankruptcy. The Flyers may be one of them. Like they were not running a very big profit. But I also feel like we haven't seen a lot of teams move around in the rankings. The Islanders being one of the few. But the teams who have been good have kind of stayed good, and the teams who have been mediocre have kind of stayed mediocre. The bad teams, there's not much of an excuse for.
Yeah, and you know what? With Tampa Bay, I mean, they have some. Who would have thought they have some real firepower? I mean, when Stamkos had gotten hurt a few years ago, and he continuously just kept getting injured, you saw this player that nobody knew, being Nikita Kucherov, turned out to be an absolute stud. The thing with the NHL is, free agents are big. Nobody really pays attention much to the draft, but if you draft well and you develop these players well, I mean, you have good players for cheap for a few years. And, when you're able to do stuff like that, you stay at a high competitive level for some time. Now, with that being said, my opinion, I'm going to take this a little bit of Flyers talk, but we have some contracts that are getting high. We have some contracts that need to go. We also have some serious depth at forward. And so when this team starts to take the new face, the team's going to look different, and we're going to have these young players coming up that are going to be ready, and we're going to have them at such a cheap deal for the time being. So granted, Flyers aren't too high right now with some of their contracts, but in a couple of years, they're going to be younger, faster, and the deals are going to be the right price.
So I'm sorry, you bring
Yeah,
up
you're
the
fine.
contract. Let's see if we're on the same page. If you were the first player you think of with a high contract? Who is it, Frank?
Little tough to hear you. Hold on one second. I'm going to be getting on a hotspot in 1 second. Really
Okay.
sorry, gents. I am in the car. Bear with me for 1 second.
Get where you need to go. So, Chris, you and I and Paul have beat this horse. Well, we'll get Frankie's answer, but we've beat this horse a little bit. The contract I think that I don't know if you're in agreement, is Jake is the one that we're most I don't want to say upset about, but it's the highest per production. That's the one that you really want to see cleared.
Join hotspot. Oh, Verizon. Let me just see.
I'm gonna. Yeah, there we go. That's the one we want to see cleared. But JVR's contract runs until he's older. He produced last year. We're not unhappy. Last year you weren't unhappy with him, or this past year. Last year, you weren't exactly thrilled. But obviously, what most fans are going to say, and I don't want to steal Frankie's thunder here, but what most fans are probably going to say is Claude Giroux.
Yeah, once he gets on, he's going to go on his rant, and it's deservedly so, because for some reason or whatever, I guess because obviously Montreal finished 1 point ahead of the Flyers, not in the standings that they were in, but in a different division, and people are thinking, well, what is going on? How come we couldn't be this? We had 58 points, they had 59 points, and now they're playing in the semifinals. All that stuff's coming into play. So, I just, and then of course, then that begins, and then it's the Claude Giroux hate, the unwarranted Claude Giroux hate.
So there we go. Let's make sure we're joined back
guys.
in.
I'm on the hotspot.
You're
now.
good.
That looks like a pretty
Okay.
nice.
So we were saying I don't know if you could hear us while you were off, but I didn't want to steal your thunder, but one of the contracts that I had said, and I've been saying since we talked about expansion draft, was Jake Voracek's. But that's one contract it's tough to live with.
Yeah, Jake Voracek's contract is one of those that I have spoken about a lot on the record. I mean, when he signed, and I'll get into a little bit more in depth too for you guys. When the last time I was on the Flyers Nitty Gritty podcast, so when he signed the big, I think it was 8 years, $47 million contract. He still has about 3 years left. Since he's signed that contract, me personally, he's had some bright spots, but he's really regressed. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of years, really. It was a spot that they didn't really necessarily have to fill because of the contract. But, man, that contract is really taking up a hit. I personally think that, and I'm on record saying this, that after next season, even maybe mid-season next year, that I think Jake Voracek will be gone because of the contract.
And then, so are you in agreement with what Chris's question was? Chris, if you want to repeat, I know Frankie's got a lot going on right now.
What did I ask? I forget.
It was high contracts. It was about high contracts.
Oh, yeah. Basically, when you think of the Flyers and their high contracts, who's the first Flyer that you think of? And for me, it's obviously Voracek.
Same. Absolutely. Immediately.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to figure his contract. Jake Voracek's contract is 8 years, $66 million. That's a lot of dough.
Million.
Oh, it's 8 per, basically, is what you're looking at.
Right. And then we were talking about, obviously, Montreal is hot. They finished, with 59 points, 1 point ahead of the Flyers. And, the Claude Giroux hate's coming out because the Flyers didn't make the playoffs. Why couldn't the Flyers be this? And why, we need to trade Giroux. He's not captain-esque. He's not worthy. There's a reason he's the most underappreciated Flyer because he's not good.
You're looking to get me fired up on my way to vacation, aren't you, Chris?
I told you when we talked the other day when we were talking about your nitty gritty article about your pop, which we'll get into that in a couple of minutes. I told you I was going to bring it up because we bring it up all the time. The unwarranted hate for Claude Giroux. It boggles my mind. Like I don't understand it. Flyers fans, they're a whole different breed. They're out there. Their Flyers are winning the cup every single year with making no moves in their eyes. And I'm just like, I don't know what you see. We even had a goalie.
I think we lost Frankie, but keep talking. Yep.
For years we didn't have a goalie, but all of a sudden we're going to advance to the Stanley Cup Finals with whoever we had who was averaging a 3.78 goals against average. I don't get it. There's one thing to be optimistic, but there's another thing to be realistic. You can't tell. Like last season, I was very optimistic coming in this year. There was no reason for the Flyers to not make the playoffs this year. They were there, but they were there with me to. I have a championship CYO game I have to attend. Trust me, I would love to go to the Yankees-Phillies game, but they were there, and then the wheels fell off after that COVID outbreak with them. And I really thought the Flyers were going to get to the Stanley Cup Finals. I was almost bet on them in the FanDuel app. I just didn't get to it.
Away?
Am I away?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't see your video. I couldn't see your video.
I think you're.
I don't know if it's the service.
Yeah.
It's you. It's not us. We can hear you.
Okay, that's all that matters. But I'm going to dive right into you were talking about the Claude Giroux. All right, so
yes.
Man, I have this conversation so many times. People with Claude Giroux, they expect Claude Giroux to be this 45, 50 goal scorer, the best player in the NHL every year. If he's not scoring 40 goals, he's awful. You ready? Here we go. Claude Giroux has never been a goal scorer. I don't know what they think. That him scoring 35 goals, that's what they want. He's not a goal scorer. He's a playmaker. He's a point man. He is not top 5 in the last 10 years with scoring goals. That's what his game is. He's a playmaker. That's what he's good at. He makes the players around him better. Now, granted, he's had a little bit of a down season last couple seasons. But to be honest with you, I think he picked it up last year. I think he actually started contributing. The goals were actually coming. And then it was like, oh, well, you know what? Maybe they should hang on them. Nah, pal. Stay in the back where you were. All right? Captain, Claude Giroux is my captain, damn it.
Yeah. I feel like that's so. The Flyers fan base can be a bit Jekyll and Hyde. And I feel like you get either an amount of people that are, you need to blow it up, send every member of the team away, start fresh, like that's possible. Or you have the people that are like, every piece is too valuable. If I'm trading Travis Konechny, I need to get, Mitch Marner and another piece. It's or name your player. I need to get Connor McDavid and a piece. They either have unrealistic opinions of the players or they hate them. And I feel like there's no in between when it comes to this fan base.
Yeah, they're very emotional, and Frankie is one of them. And he had made a comment, and when the Flyers just started losing 9 and 8-0 to the Rangers, he had made a comment about trading Travis Konechny for Johnny Gaudreau. Which, okay, I mean, Johnny Gaudreau is a good player, but I was like, if Travis Konechny stinks, why would another team take him? You know what I mean? And
it's got that big P word.
Right, and I get it. It's
potential.
Right. Frankie was very animated. He was very upset. It was games that they're losing that they shouldn't have lost. But
I still stand by it. I still stand by it. I would still trade Travis Konechny. I would package him. I would package Travis Konechny with another piece and get well, now it's a little different. I would honestly up the defense because of how deep we are in forward with the Phantoms team. I would still still package Travis Konechny. Just not for Johnny J.
Right, and that's the thing. It's we you want to. That's the thing. If you trade Travis Konechny, it's going to be someone else because no one's just going to be like, oh, give me Travis Konechny and his however many goals he didn't have this year. It's a lot harder than that. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see. We got the expansion draft coming up, so I'd seen that your Nitty Gritty guys had put out a list of players that they think who would be unprotected. So what are your feelings on that?
Okay, so I'm pretty sure I did. I know I saw the list. The two players. So the thing that they look for usually is over the last 2 years you have to play 54 games. There's a couple of things that they did to counteract. Because actually I was not unsure, but I wanted to go back and try to remember because I was like, I wonder what players they can take. Expansion draft. I remember when we lost Pierre out of our Belmore, and that was pretty upsetting. Maybe they'll still take a player like Knack, Nicholas Aubin-Cabell, or maybe they'll probably take hopefully JVR, maybe Voracek. But definitely I like to see probably Knack go because you know what? Look at Allison. Wade Allison came in and literally took his minutes. Much better goal scorer, much better player. I mean, you might as well just have him take him. So I think he might go, and I would really love if they took JVR. I think give him that contract too. But we'll see. We'll see what they take. That's kind of my take on that one.
Yeah, we had discussed about the Kraken and taking contracts, and obviously I always bring up the Vegas Knights trading for Marc-Andre Fleury, and taking on that contract, and given the salary cap now, I would be like maybe. Voracek will, God forbid, Vegas takes him. It would be a phenomenal move for us. But that's my opinion. I know Jack.
Oh, yeah.
Jack's is different, but So go ahead, Jack.
Oh no, I'd be very happy if they took either JVR or Jake's contract. So you're the player that's flip flopped is you're probably now that you signed a new contract, you're going to protect Lawton. he would probably be your last forward that you protect. You don't have to protect Farabee or Frost. They haven't played enough games. Your three defensemen are pretty much no-brainers. You're going to protect Provorov. You're going to protect Sanheim. You're going to protect Myers. Everybody, everybody else will be up for grabs. You have to protect your NMCs with Hayes and Giroux. And then it's really you're going to protect Konechny, right? Like that's also a no-brainer because his contract is friendly. Even if he didn't give you that much, he's under a pretty team-friendly deal. So, and you're going to protect Lawton. You just signed him. We and this kind of brings us right into our next part. We know that it's coming. It's pretty much an open secret. It's as open of a secret as the Eagles getting rid of Zach Ertz is that Nolan Patrick wants out of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
That's it's an open secret. We knew it was coming. Frankie, do you know, is this a team issue or is this a coach issue? Do you know?
You want to know something? So I believe that this is I'm going to go with it's a self issue. And what I mean by that is, it's been really rough here for him. It's been really unfortunate. Not to mention, minutes that got cut down. There was a time where he wasn't playing that much. And to be honest with you, I think he just wants a fresh start somewhere new. I mean, everybody knows that he brought in the new agent to pretty much negotiate his trade. And to be honest with you, it's a tough thing, especially someone that played for 18 years, being me. I mean, I've had 2 concussions. I had to take 2 years off. That's no joke. I mean, people say it's a headache. I'm like, nah, man, it's a serious issue. It will come back to one of those things like if he goes and he plays well, it's going to bite him in the butt. If he wants to go and they make the trade, best of luck. Like I said, I mean, it's a deep thing and forward, so spot can be filled. But a number 2 pick, you don't want to just give up on a player like that necessarily. I mean, I think it's more or less that he wants out. To be honest with you, I think that he wants out. He wants to be traded. I think it's because he wants a fresh start, and it may have something to do with coaching. Not confirmed, not necessarily confirmed, but I do honestly, fully, strongly believe that it's a self thing, and he wants a fresh start somewhere else.
All right, because that's what I'm saying. I'm like he was a number 2 pick. He can't be labeled a bust. I'm a little disappointed in him that he wants out. He wants a fresh start. Mm-hmm. Yeah, how can he have a fresh start when he hasn't had a start?
That's a great point.
It's kind of where I'm confused at, and I saw it, and I'm like, I want to give the kid a chance. I'm like we've discussed all season long, when we started doing the Tendys on Pattison, about the type of year this is. There was no training camp, there was no preseason, there wasn't practices, on the power play, there wasn't practices on the penalty kill, and
we're trying to do film sessions on Zoom. That doesn't work either.
Yeah, no. and I'm on half of them when we're talking to the players.
Right. And I'm like, that's not it's not fair to him. It's not fair. And I get other teams, whatever. They made the playoffs, but I'm like, again, I go back to people who've actually played the sport. You don't know what a concussion feels like. It's I've gotten a concussion playing tackle football, and when you're on the sideline and you're getting sick, or when you go to catch a pass and you completely collapse on the field, it's no joke. And when it hangs around, Percy Harvin had migraines for years when he played for Seattle. He retired early due to migraines. Think about that.
Yeah, I as someone who I don't have migraine syndrome. I don't get enough to qualify there, but who gets about 2 to 3 a month, they're debilitating. And the league, the other part that people don't realize is the league won't let you play. If you're it's not that this is his choice. You get some head injuries, you start getting some concussions, and they have whatever way they measure it. The league just will not let you play. So some of that might not even have been his choice, because it's a bad look. With everything that came out with the NFL, it's a bad look. And if they're going to roll you out there suffering from migraines with a history of, what do you have, 2 concussions in his first year or so?
Yes.
They're not going to roll you out when you're having migraine headaches. And if you have migraines, if you've ever had them, I can tell you, for me, I've got to be in a dark room, and when it finally passes, which might take an entire day, your next day or that day, if it's like at night, you're exhausted. It takes it out of you. If you know what it's like to try to be in a dark room, sick to your stomach from a headache, and any bit of light is piercing, you wouldn't make light of it.
Yeah, but
No,
these
you're
guys make
absolutely
millions
right.
of dollars.
Oh, yeah, but these guys make millions of dollars. I know, it's unbelievable.
That's what the argument will be.
Oh yeah, of course. And the thing with the Philadelphia, and I think like this, the Philadelphia fan base wants to see the best players. Is this more of the fan base is saying, oh, get rid of Nolan Patrick, he's not playing. Get rid of Nolan Patrick, he's not doing this. You know what? The kid was. Did everybody say that about Oscar? Well, Oscar had cancer. Well, you know what? This kid is suffering from serious migraines. If he's out for a year because he has a migraine issue, that's pretty serious. I hope the kid stays. Look at everybody years ago. Get rid of Sean Couturier. He's not playing well. It took Sean Couturier 5 to 6 years to be who he is today. And now they want to get rid of the second overall pick in 2 years. And which one of those years did he even play? Give me a break, man. Keep NP. Let's see what he does. And you know what? If maybe after next year, yeah, you have some consideration. It's unfortunate that he probably wants to go, but I would keep him.
Yeah.
The only way I'm dealing him is if he's part of a move to bring in a top-end right-handed defenseman. If he's part of the package, Seth Jones or someone of that level.
Yeah.
Well, Hagen a third will get you Jack Eichel.
We're deep and forward. Let's get a defense.
Yeah, we have an inside joke of Hagen a third. Yes, anything we want in the NHL.
That's right.
Yeah, but if he's going to be part of the deal to bring in a piece that they need, I'm fine with moving in that regard because, again, like we're saying, his development is delayed at least a year. And we don't know how long it's going to be. We don't know if we're going to be asking him third or fourth line minutes. We don't, it's just there's so much in the air, but it can't be moved for a fifth-round pick. They can't move Nolan Patrick for nothing. It's got to be part of a hockey deal, a package for a player that's unhappy somewhere else. Something similar to what you saw Laine and Dubois get moved in, where there were two unhappy players of similar abilities. And there was an extra piece in there, but a hockey move. He might be part of a package to bring in a Seth Jones, or another type player. I'm fine with that. That just is. If he just wants a change of scenery, sometimes a change of scenery is better for both parties.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not moving him for nothing.
Yep.
No, and
exactly.
you're absolutely right. And you know what it is if you go on like these Reddit pages, you go on Twitter, your Facebook, is a lot of these fans, they go back to the Jeff Carter and Mike Richards syndrome. How Jeff Carter and Richards, like, they came into, I just shared the post from the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, how they came right into the playoffs
16 years ago today, they won the Calder Cup.
Right, when they came in from their juniors, when they got eliminated, and then they produced right away in the minors. They came up, they produced right away. Jeff Carter, he was a good player. All he has is a shot. There's really nothing special about Jeff Carter. And I like him. Mike Richards, he was gritty when he wasn't.
Don't ask the people in Wildwood how special Jeff Carter is.
It's Sea Isle, I think.
I thought it was Wildwood.
It's one of
them.
Way.
Yeah, could be both.
Right, and absolutely. He's walking into Keenan's with the Stanley Cup.
Hide your kids, hide your wives.
That's Pat Barrel. But I'm saying it's like they had the Jeff Carter syndrome because those two came right in and they produced right away. They won the Calder Cup, and then within 4 years they were in the Stanley Cup Finals. And we all remember how good Mike Richards was in the 2010 playoffs up until the Stanley Cup Finals. Like, we all remember, the shift. He scored the shorthanded goal to tie the game, and then Jeff Carter scored that empty net goal. Like we all know, and that's what they think that they're going to get from this kid, because scoring is up. But again, you got to go back to the kid's not right in the head because of these migraines.
Yeah, but it's also unrealistic, Chris. Like, Richards and Carter joined an already decent Phantoms team. Mm-hmm. That team was already good. When it came to the Flyers, I mean, again, same idea. There were other good pieces. You had Danny Briere. You had those. They didn't come in and were expected to be 80 point getters. there were other very good players. They were good teams. That's it just after they were gone, the wheels came off of the franchise. But a lot happened in the league. Like again, the same thing. They wouldn't have been happy with those Richards and Carter deals. What were they signed for? 10 years?
Right.
When they signed their first deal?
Yeah, I mean, and you go back and you look like that Phantoms team. I know we're getting a little off track. Phantoms team had R.J. Umberger, they had Patrick Sharp, Yoni Pickenen.
They were already good. They were already very good.
Yeah.
Tony Vos.
Local guy, Tony Votes, Archbishop Ryan guy.
You got Boston College too.
Yeah. Tony was in my grade, and Ryan for the 1 year he was there.
Yeah.
But it just gets frustrating because I see a lot of upside in Nolan Patrick. I don't know, I go back to, I don't want to bring it up, but the previous quarterback who was here, you can't have a bad season here. You can't. Like, look how they treated Carter. Look how the media treated Carter Hart, and the articles that were written that he was the problem. We were 100% wrong about Carter Hart, and you just want to bang your head against my orange wall in the background. Like, that's all you want to do. Is you just look at these articles and you're like how does, I don't understand how you write an article like that, you pass it to your editor, and the editor's like, yeah, you know what, Carter Hart is the problem, and you're okay with that. Like what?
It's unbelievable. The Carter Hart issue is absolutely. I'm going to cut you off there, but I'll dive into that after your take.
No, that's fine. But no, and that's perfectly fine. Like, I don't understand it. Like, this kid's 21 years old or 22. He's played in big games as a 16-year-old. We all know why he wears his number 79. He's straight in the head. There's nothing wrong with it. You had a bad season. You had a down season. But again, in Philadelphia, you're not allowed to have that.
No, you're absolutely right.
Go ahead, Frankie.
Okay,
no, you're fine.
Appreciate that. So real quick with the Carter Hart thing, I'll just do a little tidbit. Me personally, I think he might have been brought up maybe a year or two early. But he's come up and he's played phenomenal. Last year, when he was in the playoffs, he had 2 shutouts, playing at a great high level. Solid defense in front of him. We saw some hope with some really good players, and then this year. Your defense was flat. Carter Hart's numbers doubled. There were some issues with Carter Hart, but get the kid a defense in front of him. I mean, he had to make the spectacular save every single time. He's a young kid. He's 22. He's sophomore year. Carter Hart's gonna be just fine. It took us a long time to find a number one goaltender. So the people that just want to give up on Carter Hart are the same people that have a problem with Claude Giroux. Also, who never had a shooter hit on his line his entire career. He's never had anybody that really could put 35 goals in. He's been playing with. I'm done. I'm sorry. I'm upset. Anyway,
go ahead. No.
You had end of career Yager. That was it.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. He's never had, and he still put up 102 points in 1 year. He's still top 5 all time. 10 years up in points. If he would have had Patrick Kane, if we would have got Patrick Kane instead of JVR, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. We'd be saying Hall of Fame. You know what? Claude Giroux is the third best all-time Flyer that's ever played here. Boom.
Right, and we did the CEV podcast last season, and we were talking about Carter Hart. And my one thing is don't let anyone buy that kid a Porsche. Like, no, buy him an Uber. That's the love that I had for this kid. Like, just how calm and cool and collected was, and even how he was calm, cool, and collected was this season, as his head coach continually threw him under the bus at times. I feel like AV was way too hard on these young guys, and he's got that reputation of doing that, and
I'm going to come out and say I think what we're maybe thinking here in that regard. AV burns his welcome out pretty fast. That seems to be his track record. He gets success very quickly, but within 3 years, it wears out. And I'm not concerned about the quote-unquote losing the locker room. I don't think we know. Frankie may know more than I do, but I don't know. There was no locker room to lose because nobody's together at practices. it's very hard to wear out players when you can't see them. That being said, he asks way too much of his goaltenders. It's true everywhere he's been. His system asks for goaltenders to be excellent, not
Look
just.
who he has.
And,
Look who he had. He's had two of the best goaltenders of all time. He's had Henrik Lundqvist. He's had Roberto Luongo. He's going to expect a lot out of Carter Hart. Avery's a great coach, and he's great with us. He's great with the media. But keep in mind, he's had two of the best goaltenders in their prime of all time. I mean, he's going to win some games, so puts a lot of pressure. But he has to remember, he's putting pressure on a 22-year-old kid who can't go home and see his family once in a while. It's a lot of pressure. I get your take for sure. I mean,
yeah, it's but I guess we're like I like him. I think he's very personable. I think he answers questions. Right. I think he's honest. You know, like you're not getting bullshit from him. You're not getting canned. You don't get canned hockey answers about, oh, yeah, we just need to get to the dirty spots. We just need to, we need to win battles. You're not getting that. You're getting honest feedback from him. That is a very nice breath of fresh air in the sport. That being said, he does that position, as we talked about in the beginning of the conversation with Trotz, right? There's a way you can do it where your system maybe isn't that exciting. Your system doesn't put that much pressure on, and there's a way you can do it where it does. And they didn't have the defensive players to do this year, to do the system that he would like to play. When you've got Justin Braun playing in your top four, really your top pair, he doesn't have the speed. He doesn't have. He's up there. It's you're just asking too much of that man. It's not fair to a certain extent. So then you end up with this circular issue where your defense is giving up a lot of high danger chances. Your goaltender is getting burnt from it, so he tries to overcompensate. He starts letting in softer goals. Then your defense is trying to overcompensate for the softer goals, and they're both playing terrible. And I just don't think that an adjustment, like as much as there was an issue with your top four defensemen, there wasn't much of an adjustment, at least to my eye, made to the system, and what the ask was to fix that issue and to not play such an attacking system coming out of your own defensive zone. And it led to all those turnovers.
I'll pick up off the turnovers. I mean, there's games we've watched against the Islanders. Shane Gostisbehere throws the puck to the other side. There was defenseman. Nobody's there. Matthew Barzal comes, takes it, scores in overtime. I'm not sure how much accountability. I think he's holding the wrong players accountable, to be honest with you. And the defense. I mean, you see something like that thrown over the other side, and nobody's there. It's awful. But with that being said, I mean, it was tough. It's tough.
So we're. I guess to move on to the next point, our year is over. I will say that struggle the first series against Montreal last year, everybody was worried about it. Look at how good they are. They're an underrated team.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a superstar. People tend to overlook them. The Islanders, they take to 7 games last season. They're a good team. They hung with those. We're going to wipe away this year just based on the fact that I know everybody dealt with it, but the reality is if you got cold, how else can you get better without practicing? How can you get better? So we're gonna take a mulligan. The year's over, but we're done. So now we have to look forward to is right. We get the protected list for the expansion draft, and then the draft is right after that. So the Flyers pick at 13. Any names stick out to you, Frankie?
Yes, actually, I do have one, and I've watched a little film on him, and I actually do want to bring him up. I think he's got a weird name. He's a defenseman. Obviously, I'm going defense on this one. He's right-handed shot. He's about 1 second. I'm going to pull his name up because it's hard to pronounce, so bear with me, gents. Corson Stillman, 6'2", 198 defenseman. Me personally, he's got potential to be a top 4 NHL defenseman. He plays the big minutes, big situations. He's a young kid. He is the number 13 overall, actually, in the draft. You may have to try and sneak up to snag him, but, I mean, if they can get this kid, I think it'd be really nice because you're going to start seeing the defense of what we have is what we have with a few moves here and there, but you definitely have to go defense. So that's the kid that I really like. That's the kid I would definitely keep an eye out for. 17 years old, has scored 11 points, 4 goals, 7 assists in just a few games. He's projected number 13. Coleman Humans.
Where's he playing out of?
Where is he playing? You know what? I don't remember off the top of my head, unfortunately. We'll definitely have to get the information, but I mean, I really like him a lot. I'll definitely be keeping an eye on him.
So, Josh, that was my feeling last week. Was I wouldn't be surprised if the 13th pick is at part of some package to bring in somebody. That was one of the comments we had just now, Frankie. About I'm wondering if the Flyers don't trade that pick with a salary guy for an upgrade somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised if 13 Patrick and another player are part of some package to bring in a bigger name. They've made their first round selection every year for a long time. They kind of need a player. I wouldn't be surprised, but right now we don't know. We don't know how valuable these picks are this year and how GMs are really looking at it. In a normal year, when you could see more of these players and your scouts could get more in there and guys played and they're playing full rosters, we might, the pick may hold a different value. I'm just not sure it holds the same value as any other year. But there might be a player that teams like, that come draft day, there might be a player and they go, you know what, I need to move up to get him, and then that's where you'll see a deal. But everybody here in Philadelphia is really holding their breath about Seth Jones. That's going to cost you, even though everybody knows he's unhappy, wants out. It's going to cost you, and you're going to want to have a deal. You're not going to want to give up a lot and not be able to sign him either if he's dead set on hitting free agency. So, yes, we're in agreement, but we also just the value and what's really going to be out there.
So, what do you think about the development of Cam York? You think he's up here next year?
Oh my goodness, man!
I had to bring it up.
The way I'm so excited right now because I want to I'm almost arriving at the shore, so I want to make sure I get you guys some good info. So Cam York, the way this kid sees the puck, the way he sees the ice, the way he moves, man, I guarantee you, 4 years, I think he will be just as good as Provorov. I really, really like this kid. Now, back to your question about will I see him up this year? I don't know if he'll make the opening roster. Granted, if a few pieces are gone, if someone doesn't make it, if a package deal happens and you move a defenseman, I think he will make it up here midway through. But I don't know about the starting roster. But man, this kid is good, and I'm so excited to see him come up here and play full time. Wait till everybody gets to watch this kid play every day. He is really good, and he's going to be really good, really, really good player. I could have been more excited about having Cam York up here.
Well, I don't think Chris, just real fast, I'm not sure they're going to be able to keep him off the roster very long.
Exactly.
That's after watching just the 2 short games, any highlights you saw from Michigan, the World Juniors, when you talk about like players that get from the good to the like very good bracket, so much of what they do is decisions before they have the puck. He, like how quickly he makes a decision to get out of the zone it's just something you don't. It's very hard to pick up on, and he does it so well. I think he's going to force their hand. I just think he's going to force their hand. I don't think Robert Haig is going to be able to keep Cam York off the ice very long. I don't think. Look, Robert Haig is a very nice number 7 defenseman. I don't think pick your other bottom pair man. I don't think these other bottom pair guys are going to be able to keep him off the ice very long.
Cam York is 19. He's better than almost every defenseman we have. I mean, this kid is unreal.
Listen, I got to watch him play on. The Phantoms were on TV for his first start, and I got to watch, and I actually got excited. was the first time, obviously, since last season I got excited, and I'm watching. I'm actually looking forward to see what Wade Allison can do in a full season.
You should be.
Oh, yeah.
So it's he just kept scoring and scoring and scoring. And who was the other kid?
Forster looks good. Lazinski looked good. Some of these kids really looked good.
Like this is almost like you said, we're in the forwards. It's
the depth's there. The depth is there in forward. This team's gonna look a lot different 2 years.
Yeah, Jack. What do you always say? Too many forwards, too much depth. It might bite us. It could.
Well, you move other players. Like that's what ends up like you need to clear the logjam, or you need to. So you either need to move the guys in front of them, or you need to move those guys. You can't have. Eventually, players need to step forward. Now they got bit in the butt a little bit this year. With they expected some guys to take a step forward that didn't. And obviously Morgan Frost getting hurt was not in the plans. But that being said, the Flyers have always been very good at developing forwards. Always been very good at developing forwards. Defensemen, on the other hand, not always their strong suit at development. Normally, we get those from outside the franchise, or they come in like a Cam York, like a Provorov. They come in and don't need much development. Their game is pretty complete. They just need to grow into their body.
Yeah, I love. Me and Jack go back all the time. We call Provorov the Winter Soldier. I love that dude. Like I knew he had a bad season, but he's my boy. Like he's my boy, Bo. Like people getting on him again. You just can't have a bad season in this city. It's amazing. Like how and I guess as I get older and I look at it from like a different viewpoint. I'm like when I got other stuff going on. I'm like. I wonder, was I really like this when I was 20 years ago when I had kids and I was screaming at the TV and throwing my hat across the thing when, people were scoring and the Flyers ain't making a Stanley Cup but are getting swept by Detroit? Like, I don't remember. Well, I'm sure I was. Now that I see how these people react, I'm just like, oh, my God. And social media gives the wrong people a voice. There's that, too.
So this is a good segue to get to where we're going. And a good way to get to where we're going and it being the last thing we hit people with. I think that, I get what you're saying, but I also think there are differences. There are, it is okay to be frustrated. It is okay to be annoyed. It is okay to be disappointed. We as Flyers fans, for the last decade, have been disappointed. If anybody who tells you different, I'd like to have what they're drinking. It's got to be good.
Making the playoffs every other year isn't a good thing.
But these are right. These are the same people, Chris, that look at a stat sheet, as I said, and say Ben Simmons only scored 4. What did he do? They don't know. Not everything fills a stat sheet. So we talk about Ivan Provorov. I like him. We've talked about him multiple times. The thing is Ivan Provorov, when you watch him, he doesn't do one thing special. He does everything very, very good. There is not a hole in his game. He's a complete player. But does he do anything special? No, because he doesn't pop out. When you're watching him, you don't pop out and go, oh, my God, that's to use the player that you're talking about earlier. Look at Barzal. He's everywhere. Ivan Provorov isn't that player. He's not Victor Hedman. He's not, pick out that defenseman. But he does not have a hole.
Does his job. He does his job and he does it well.
And he does it so well.
Yeah.
He does it so well. This is not an anti-Ivan Provorov rant, but these fans, they watch it because he doesn't do those things. Since the whole team was bad, it's like, well, he must not be that good. The reality is every top defenseman has a second player on his line that's just as good or close to, is in the same league. There is no top defenseman on any professional hockey team that has had to play with, again, not an anti-Justin Braun guy, but a Justin Braun end of his career player. No other top pairing defenseman has been asked of that. But it brings us to kind of start closing off our conversation. So we talked about being frustrated. We talked about being disappointed. Frank, you had this wonderful article that you wrote about your father's journey of fandom and kind of his life over the last little while. And frustration and bordering between blow it up and moving on. I highly recommend that anybody goes up, and it's on Bleacher Report.
Yeah, it's on
Frankie?
Bleacher Report. If you don't mind, yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yep.
Plug it.
Okay, yeah. So real quick, if you don't mind me doing my little thing. So yeah, it's on Bleacher Report. You can so I'm writer for FlyersNittyGritty.com. You can find us on there at FlyersNitty. My Twitter handle at Frankie's Desk. I also have big things coming.
He's missing his plugs.
Great stuff
Yeah,
too as well.
Hold on, Frankie.
Frankie,
replug it. You were
Fantastic.
going in and out.
Sorry about that.
You're good.
Okay, but yeah. It's an article. It was my best article I've ever wrote. It meant a lot to me to be able to do that. My father, Chris knows very well, was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer in the mouth about 2 years ago. Die-hard 4-for-4 guy. You can ask Chris. he was always the last one at every party. Philadelphia Flyers are, it's everything to him. And when he got diagnosed and things were getting real scary, he battled and won, went into remission, and a few months ago the cancer had to come back into a different location. So it was hard to take. That's actually one of the reasons why I actually came back home, to reside back in Pennsylvania, to kind of be there with him, enjoy these games, enjoy the sports with them. And it was a beautiful article, and I got a lot of support from it. I see it kind of everywhere. A lot of people being able to read it and appreciate it, and whoever can help out, it means a lot to me. The support, but I appreciate you bringing that up. It means a lot to me.
It's a very my comments to you after I read it was it's a very honest, very kind of raw read. You could tell it's heartfelt, and as we talked about with why we like Elaine Vigneault it's tough to find genuine writing. It's tough to find genuine talk anymore. Everything is skewed towards getting a reaction, and just being able to read someone's journey through this. One is being introduced to fandom from your father, and then your father's journey through a very rough time. It is a very, very good story. I recommend anybody going and reading it. What's his feelings on the Flyers now?
Chris knows my tattoo, so it's
funny though. It's like I was reading the article, and you put the story in there how mad he was when the anniversary of the worst goal in the history of the Stanley Cup Finals was scored yesterday, 11 years ago, and how he was mad. I wasn't mad. I turned the TV off and went upstairs, and my wife's like, "Where are you going?" Well, Patrick Kane ain't stripping because he missed, so I'm going to bed. Like, I'm not watching them lift this up. Like my other co-host from CEV, he was at the game, and he saw them raise the Stanley Cup, the Blackhawks. So I guess as
that's gotta hurt.
Oh, I'm sure it did. As a hockey fan, yeah, but I turned it right off and went to bed. I'm like, chemo team, and then gave up a goal on a head fake, like
yeah, that goal was tough, man. That goal was a tough one to see. And like I said, if we would have had, we were a pick away from having Patrick Kane, so that's what hurts even more.
Right.
But yeah, Mike. Big Mike. What he thinks about the Flyers. I think he kind of wants Cole Giroux going too. I think Mike wants Cole Giroux.
You can't argue with the man.
I never will, dude. I'm not getting headbutt by him. But yeah, he loves the team. He wants. The good thing about Mike is he is the Philadelphia fan that we kind of all talk about. Like, come on, settle down. Like, he wants them all to do well. And if they do well, he called it. Mike called it. I called them 10 years ago. I'm like, all right, Mike, you got that one.
Well, at least I'm assuming he's enjoying the Sixers right now.
Oh yeah. I just watched a little bit of the game with him the other night. Oh yeah, he's loving it right now. He really is. Hopefully they can pull it out. But yeah, he's enjoying the Sixers a lot. Sitting down, being comfy and cozy, the best he can, and we're all right there with him.
Well, that's awesome.
That's good. It's good. It's good that you can be. Cancer is an equal opportunity bag of shit, and anytime you can get anything positive is a good thing.
Cancer ain't prejudice.
No, it's an equal opportunity asshole. So, and then in closing, and I know that we talked about if the Flyers pick, keep their pick or trade it away, and you had mentioned defenseman. The one player, I mentioned him our last show, that intrigues me, and he's a center, that intrigues me is Artur Rattay. He was originally, before this year, the consensus number one. And everybody bumped him down because he didn't progress this year like everybody had expected him to. And my feeling is this year was a bag of dicks, and yes, everyone had to deal with it, but how much do you want to hold it against a 16 or 17-year-old kid? And I find him intriguing if they keep their pick to have a player who at least everyone believed it was of that caliber 8 months ago, available, because right now I think he's in like the 14th to 18th range. And if you decide you're going to go that route, if he's there, or he is, I believe, from Sweden. The Flyers do have a heavy Swedish connection. They tend to take players from Sweden almost not quite as frequently as Canada, but it's probably their second or third pool that they pull from. It's like North America, Sweden. They don't really take players from Russia. They don't really take players from any other any Denmark or anywhere, Switzerland, anywhere else where they might be playing. So that's a name that has intrigued me since the kids have been done playing. So otherwise, we're getting ready to wrap up. Was there anything you had left, Chris?
No, I'm pretty good over here. Is there anything you got, Frankie, you want to add?
Yeah, Claude Giroux's my captain.
Our captain, my captain.
Got that right.
Well,
what's
Carson Wentz
funny?
is my quarterback.
What's funny about Giroux is anybody I know that has played the game, everybody I know that has played the game says the same things.
Yeah.
I do got to add one thing. Ben Simmons should have won Defensive Player of the Year.
There you go. On that note, we are out.
Frankie, thanks for joining us.